The grand hall of the Lorelian Star Palace shone with soft glowing lights. Music like wind chimes filled the air. Tall windows revealed the stars outside, and alien flowers bloomed along the walls. It was a scene made for peace. Princess Serenia of Lorelia stood quietly near the center, her heart beating fast. She wore a long silver gown that flowed like liquid light. Her pale blue skin glowed softly under the lights. Her hands were clasped in front of her, and her violet eyes watched the guests enter the room. Today was important. For the first time in history, a group of humans had come to Lorelia for peace talks. After months of tension and a few border skirmishes, both sides agreed they needed diplomacy, not war. Serenia had been chosen to greet the human delegation. She was the youngest daughter of the Empress and known for her calmness. But right now, she did not feel calm at all. Her eyes drifted toward the tall human walking beside the ambassador. He had short dark hair, strong shoulders, and a face that looked like it had seen many battles. His uniform was clean and sharp, with medals on his chest. He was clearly a soldier, not just a diplomat. His name, she had read, was Commander Elias Vance. Serenia looked away quickly when he glanced in her direction. "I can do this," she whispered to herself. "I must be brave. For Lorelia." The Lorelian ambassador stepped forward and welcomed the human team with polite words. Elias nodded, standing behind his ambassador with his arms folded. He seemed alert but calm, his eyes scanning the room like he was still on a battlefield. Then came the moment Serenia feared. She was called forward to offer a personal welcome. As she walked toward the humans, she focused on her breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Just like she had practiced. She smiled gently and bowed her head in the traditional Lorelian greeting. "On behalf of the royal family," she said in a soft, clear voice, "I welcome you to our home. May peace grow from understanding." Commander Elias Vance stepped forward and returned the bow, but in the human way, with a nod of the head and hand over heart. "Thank you, Princess," he said. "We're honored to be here." His voice was deep and calm. Serenia felt her cheeks warm. His tone wasn't rude, but it wasn't as gentle as she was used to. Humans spoke more directly, like they didn't worry about sounding too strong. It made her nervous and curious. Dinner was served soon after. The two species sat across long tables filled with dishes from both worlds. Serenia sat across from Elias. She tried to focus on her food, but she could feel his eyes glance at her every few minutes. He seemed polite, but also amused. Was she being too quiet, too nervous? Conversation floated around the table. A human diplomat made a joke that got polite laughter from both sides. Elias chuckled too, then turned to Serenia and tried to start small talk. "So, Princess," he asked, "have you ever visited Earth?" She shook her head. "No, but I've seen pictures. Your oceans look very blue." "They are, but I hear yours glow at night." Serenia smiled. "Yes, our moonlight makes the waters shimmer." Their eyes met for a moment. Something unspoken passed between them. Interest, maybe. But just then, a problem began. One of the junior human officers leaned over and pointed to a Lorelian dish on the table. "What is that?" he asked loudly. "It smells strange. Is it even cooked?" Some Lorelians nearby frowned. Food was sacred in their culture, and insulting a dish was seen as very rude. Before Serenia could speak, Elias raised his voice. "Lieutenant," he said, "maybe let our hosts enjoy their traditions. We're here for peace, not personal opinions." The officer looked embarrassed and muttered an apology. Serenia's eyes widened slightly. Elias had defended her people without anger but with firmness. She hadn't expected that. "Thank you," she whispered. Elias nodded, then looked away like it was no big deal. But to Serenia, it was. Later that evening, as the guests began to leave the dining hall, Serenia stood by the crystal windows watching the stars. Her thoughts were spinning. Why had his words touched her so deeply? He was just doing his job, wasn't he? Still, no one had ever stood up for her like that. Not in public. Her own people expected her to stay quiet and calm. Elias had spoken without fear. Maybe that was just how humans were. "Beautiful view?" said a voice behind her. She turned and saw Elias walking up beside her. She nodded politely. "Yes, it reminds us how small we are, and how big peace can be." He smiled slightly. "That's very Lorelian." Serenia tilted her head. "And what would a human say?" He shrugged. "Probably something like, 'The stars are endless, and so is our duty to keep people safe.' Not as poetic." She gave a soft laugh. "I think it is, in your own way." There was a pause, not uncomfortable but full of something new. Interest, curiosity, maybe even understanding. "I'm not good at royal manners," Elias admitted. "Hope I didn't ruin the dinner." "You didn't," Serenia said quickly. "In fact, I think you saved it." They both smiled. And in that quiet moment under the stars, neither of them said what they were truly thinking. Serenia tried to stay calm, but her heart was racing. For the first time in her life, a human, an outsider, a warrior, had made her feel seen. And it scared her more than anything else. 2 days after the welcome dinner, the space station above Lorelia was full of movement. It was a floating platform in space, built for peace meetings between different species. Bright lights blinked across its long silver walls, and large windows looked out over the stars. Princess Serenia stood in the observation room, looking at Earth's delegation ship as it arrived. Her hands were cold, but she hid her nerves well. Her role was clear: act as a guide and peaceful voice for her people. But her thoughts kept drifting to someone else, Commander Elias Vance. He had spoken little since that night, but she had caught him watching her once or twice. His presence still made her feel strange, nervous and curious at the same time. Suddenly, alarms blared through the station. "Emergency alert. Unknown enemy presence detected. All personnel, report to safety zones." The lights turned red. The room shook slightly as the station was hit. Serenia's guards ran toward her, but it was too late. The walls trembled and the door sealed shut. Lockdown mode had begun. From the other side of the room, Elias and 2 human officers rushed in just before the doors closed. He looked around quickly and saw Serenia near the center. "You okay, Princess?" he called out. She nodded, eyes wide. I think so. What's happening?" "Attack from inside. Someone sabotaged the system. Not good." He turned to the station panel. "We're locked in here. No way to reach command." A loud crash outside made the ground shake. Serenia stumbled. Elias caught her before she fell. "Easy," he said. Serenia looked up into his eyes. "We must find out who did this. If we don't act, this will break the peace." Elias nodded. "Agreed. We'll move together. You know the station better than I do." Her heart raced again. She was not used to leading in emergencies, but there was no one else. And Elias, a warrior from another world, was trusting her now. The small group, 2 humans, Elias, Serenia, and one of her guards, moved through the silent halls. The lights flickered and warning signs flashed on every screen. At one junction, they came across a broken service droid sparking on the floor. Serenia knelt beside it. "This model runs the life support systems," she said. "Someone shut it down from here." Elias studied the damage. "Smart attack. They're trying to make us panic. We have maybe an hour before the air runs out." They needed to reach the command room fast, but the main path was blocked by fallen debris. Serenia looked toward the maintenance tunnels. "We can go this way," she said, pointing. "It's small, but faster." The tunnel was narrow, just wide enough for one person at a time. Serenia went first, crawling carefully. Elias followed behind her, his large frame barely fitting. His voice echoed softly. "Didn't think I'd be crawling through air vents with royalty today." Serenia gave a small laugh. "Nor did I think I'd lead a human warrior through my home." They reached the other side and dropped down into another hallway. It was darker here, more damage, the signs of battle. "We're getting close," Elias said. "Stay sharp." Suddenly, a noise behind them. A door opened and a small drone flew out, shooting a stun beam. Elias pushed Serenia behind him and took the blast on his arm. He fell to one knee, teeth clenched. "Elias!" Serenia cried. "I'm fine," he growled. "Just stunned." She helped him to his feet. Her guard destroyed the drone with one shot. Elias leaned against the wall, breathing hard. "I'll live." But Serenia was shaking. "You protected me again. You could have been seriously hurt." He gave a weak smile. "Comes with the job." "No," she said, voice stronger now. "You didn't have to do that. But you did. I won't forget it." They continued moving. With Elias's arm weak, Serenia guided the way, speaking calmly into the comm units when they found working ones, trying to reach anyone on either side. At last, they reached a working control panel and saw part of the truth. The attack had come from inside. The system logs showed that a Lorelian officer had disabled security just before the alarms began. Serenia's eyes widened. Why would one of my people do this? Who would want to stop the peace? Elias leaned close to the screen. Maybe someone who fears change, or someone who sees humans as a threat. Serenia's hands trembled. I must speak to the council. They must know the truth. But we still have to get you out of here safely first, Elias reminded her. Come on. As they reached the central command room, more drones blocked their path. Elias, despite his injury, grabbed a fallen shield from the wall and charged forward, drawing their fire. Serenia and her team followed behind and managed to shut down the drones using the main system controls. With the attackers stopped and the lockdown lifted, communication with the station's command returned. Teams rushed in to secure the area, but the damage was done. The Peace Summit had been nearly destroyed. Back in the medical bay, Elias sat quietly as a medic treated his arm. Serenia stood nearby, watching him with mixed emotions. You saved me, she said again. More than once. You saved everyone, Elias replied. You didn't freeze. You led. She hesitated. I didn't feel brave. I just followed. Your strength. He looked up at her. That's what makes a good leader, Princess. Knowing when to follow and when to stand tall. Her cheeks turned a light purple, a sign of emotion in her people. You speak with so much honesty, she said quietly. It still surprises me. Humans aren't great at hiding how we feel, he said with a smile. Serenia laughed softly, her hands folded in front of her. I'm still learning not to hide mine. They looked at each other for a long moment. No words, just quiet understanding. Then Serenia stepped forward, offering her hand. Thank you, Commander. For everything. Elias took her hand gently. Anytime, Princess. In the distance, the stars still shined. But something had changed. Between two very different people, a new connection had begun. Not just an alliance, but perhaps the start of something deeper. The repair teams worked day and night to fix the damage on the Lorelian space station. Although the lockdown was over and communications were restored, the danger still felt close. People whispered about betrayal. Trust between the human and Lorelian teams was shaken. Princess Serenia stood in the quiet garden room on the station, where holographic trees and soft lights created a peaceful place to think. But her heart was far from peaceful. She couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. The attack, the drones, the traitor from her own people, and most of all, Commander Elias Vance. He had protected her again and again. Even when hurt, he had stood like a wall between her and danger. His actions were loud, but his words were always calm and respectful. There was something about him that made her feel safe, but also confused. Serenia had always been quiet, careful, and well-trained in royal duties. But around Elias, she felt like someone else. Someone unsure, emotional, and easily flustered. Yet she didn't want to run from those feelings anymore. The door behind her opened. You always find the calmest places, Elias said as he entered. Serenia turned, surprised, then smiled softly. They help me think. Elias walked over, his arm still wrapped in a healing band. How's the investigation going? The traitor has been taken to the capital, she said. He believed humans would bring war. He thought destroying peace was the only way to protect Lorelia. Elias shook his head. Sad. He couldn't see we're not the enemy. Serenia looked down. It hurt to learn that someone from my own people could do such harm. But you stopped him, Elias reminded her. You were brave. She looked up at him, eyes shining. You think so? I know so, he said. Silence filled the space between them again, warm, not cold. Then Elias sat down on one of the stone benches and motioned for her to sit beside him. You ever get tired of being perfect all the time? He asked. Serenia blinked. Perfect? I'm not. You act like it, he said with a smile. Always calm, always polite, never loud, never messy. She lowered her eyes. That's what's expected of me. Princesses don't shout or stumble. Elias leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. Humans are different. We fall. We get back up. We argue, laugh, cry. All of it. We believe strength comes from being real, not perfect. Serenia looked at her hands. I envy that sometimes. You speak your heart without fear. I wish I could do that. You can, Elias said. You're doing it right now. For a moment, Serenia didn't speak. Then she said quietly, I was afraid during the attack, truly afraid. But when I saw you, I felt steady. Elias's expression softened. You don't have to hide fear. Fear's natural. What matters is what you do with it. You make it sound so simple. It's not, he said. But you handled it better than some soldiers I know. Serenia smiled. She could feel something changing inside her, something new and strong. Not just admiration anymore, but a growing connection. Still, she didn't know what it meant yet. Later that evening, a small ceremony was held to honor those who helped during the emergency. Both human and Lorelian officers were praised. Serenia stood beside Elias as names were read. As the event ended, a young Lorelian officer approached her. Princess, there is a message from your mother. She asks for your return to the palace tomorrow morning. She wants to discuss your future. Serenia nodded slowly. She knew what that meant. A meeting with the council. A possible political agreement. Maybe even a royal match proposal. Her heart sank a little. Elias saw the change in her face. Everything all right? Yes, she said softly. Just royal duties. They never stop. He nodded. I get it. But something in his eyes said he didn't like it. Not because of the duty itself, but because he knew it might pull her away from him. That night, Serenia couldn't sleep. She wandered the station halls, her long robe flowing behind her. Her feet led her to the training deck, where she saw Elias standing alone, punching a training bag with his good arm. He looked surprised when he saw her. Couldn't sleep either? He asked, wiping sweat from his forehead. She shook her head. Too many thoughts. He walked over to her, breathing heavy. Want to talk about it? Serenia hesitated, then said, I don't want to leave the station tomorrow. I don't want to return to a life where every feeling must be hidden. Elias was quiet for a moment, then he said, What do you want, Serenia? No one had asked her that so directly before. Her eyes met his, wide and searching. I want to be myself, she said. Not just the princess. Not just the perfect voice of peace. Elias took a step closer. Then be that. Right now. What do you feel? Her voice trembled. I feel like I've changed since meeting you. You confuse me. You challenge me. And sometimes I can't stay calm around you. Elias gave a soft smile. That's all right. I'm not calm around you. Either? Serenia's breath caught. They stood there in silence. Not touching, not moving, but the air between them felt electric, full of emotion. Then Elias said, Whatever happens when you go back, just know this. You're stronger than you think. And you're allowed to feel. You're allowed to want. Serenia. nodded slowly, her heart full. That night she didn't sleep, but not because of fear, because of hope. The halls of the Lorelian Star Palace buzzed with tension. News of the sabotage had spread quickly, and whispers filled the rooms like a restless wind. Princess Serenia felt the weight of her people's fear pressing down on her. Today, she would face the royal council. She wore a deep blue robe that matched her violet eyes. Her pale skin almost glowed under the palace lights. But inside, her heart was heavy. The council chamber was grand and cold. Tall pillars circled the room, and the council members sat on raised seats, their faces serious and unreadable. Serenia stepped forward, bowing respectfully. "Honored council members, I bring news of the attack on the space station. It was not the work of humans, but a traitor from among us." Murmurs spread through the room. Some faces hardened. Others showed disbelief. One council member, Lord Velran, spoke sharply. "A traitor? Explain yourself, Princess. How do we know this is not a human trick to divide us?" Serenia met his gaze steadily. "We have the evidence. The logs show a Lorelian officer disabled security systems. He hoped to destroy the peace." "Talks." Velran's lips pressed into a thin line. "And you trust the humans now? You who have been raised to serve Lorelia first?" The room grew colder. Serenia took a deep breath. "I trust those who seek peace, not those who use fear to control us." Her words surprised even herself. For the first time, she spoke with clear strength. Before Velran could reply, the doors opened and a guard entered carrying a small datapad. He handed it to the council leader. "New message from the traitor," the guard said. The council leader read it aloud. "I acted for Lorelia's survival. Humans are dangerous. Their warriors will bring ruin to our worlds. I will not stand aside for their destruction." Serenia's heart ached. This was more than politics. It was fear wrapped in anger. After the council meeting, Serenia retreated to her private chambers. The room felt cold and empty, but her thoughts burned hot. She thought of Elias, the human warrior who had risked his life for her and her people, the man who spoke honestly and lived with courage. She wondered if he knew how much she admired him, how much she wished to be brave like him. Suddenly her communicator beeped. It was a message from Elias. "Meet me at the observation deck. We need to talk." Serenia hurried to the deck, where the stars stretched endlessly around the station. Elias was already there, his expression serious but kind. "Princess," he began, "you're facing a storm, but you're not alone." She smiled softly. "Thank you, Elias. Your words give me strength." He looked out at the stars. "There's something you should know. The humans I serve, some of them still fear your people. They don't trust peace with aliens." Serenia frowned. "Even after all we've done? Old fears die hard," Elias said. "But I believe peace is stronger." She took a deep breath. "I want to believe that too." Suddenly an alert sounded. The station's security system flashed red. "Intruder detected," the voice announced. Elias and Serenia exchanged looks and ran toward the source of the alert. In a hidden corridor they found the traitor trying to escape. He held a small device that could cause more damage. "Stop," Elias commanded. The traitor turned, anger blazing in his eyes. "You don't understand. Humans will destroy us all." Serenia stepped forward, calm but firm. "You are wrong. We must work together, not fight." The traitor sneered and activated the device. Elias lunged forward and grabbed him, struggling to stop the explosion. Serenia joined, using her knowledge of Lorelian technology to disable the device. Together, they subdued the traitor. Later, in the council chamber, the traitor was brought before the leaders. Serenia stood tall, her voice clear. "We must not let fear destroy us. The future belongs to those who choose peace." Her words moved many, even the hardest council members. Slowly, the room softened. The council agreed to continue peace talks, stronger than before. After the meeting, Elias and Serenia stood alone on the observation deck again. "I'm proud of you," Elias said. Serenia smiled, her heart full. "Thank you, Elias. I could not have done this without you. He took her hand gently. Whatever happens, remember this. You are brave, you are strong, and you are not alone. Serenia squeezed his hand. For the first time, she felt calm, not because she was hiding her feelings, but because she was ready to face the future, whatever it held. The day of the Peace Summit finally arrived. The grand hall of the Lorelian Star Palace was filled with representatives from many worlds. Flags and symbols of unity hung from the ceiling. Light streamed through tall windows, casting colorful patterns on the polished floor. Princess Serenia stood at the front, wearing her royal robes with quiet confidence. Beside her, Commander Elias Vance stood tall in his uniform. The two of them had become symbols of hope, proof that even the most different beings could work together. As the summit began, speeches were made. Leaders spoke of peace, of new friendships, and of building a future free from fear. Serenia's heart beat faster as she thought of everything that had happened. The attack on the station, the betrayal by one of her own people, the quiet moments with Elias where she learned to trust herself and him. When it was her turn, she stepped forward. Her voice was clear and steady. Today we stand together not just as rulers or warriors, but as friends. Our future depends on the courage to face our fears and choose hope. The room fell silent, then filled with applause. Elias caught her eye and gave a small nod. She smiled back, feeling stronger than ever. After the official talks ended, Serenia and Elias stepped away from the crowd. They walked through the palace gardens, the air filled with alien flowers and soft breezes. I never thought I'd be here, Serenia said softly. Speaking to so many people standing up for peace. You've come far, Elias said. More than you realize. She looked at him, her violet eyes shining. And I have you to thank. He laughed gently. I just stood beside you. You did all the hard work. Serenia paused, then took a deep breath. There's something I need to say, she said, her voice trembling slightly. Elias turned to face her. What is it? She looked down for a moment, then met his gaze. I am no longer calm around you. He raised an eyebrow, a smile tugging at his lips. That sounds promising, he said. Her cheeks flushed a soft purple, the sign of strong emotion among her people. It means, she continued, that you make me feel alive. You make my heart race, and I want to know what that means. For us. Elias stepped closer, his hand reaching for hers. Serenia, he said gently, I've felt the same since the moment I met you. You're brave, kind, and real. I want to explore this, whatever it is, with you. Their hands touched, warm and steady. Around them, the stars outside the windows seemed to shine brighter. Later that night, Serenia sat by the palace window, watching the galaxy stretch endlessly. She thought of the journey they had shared. Fear, trust, danger, and hope. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Elias entered quietly, carrying 2 cups of tea made from Lorelian herbs. He handed her one, then sat beside her. They sipped the warm tea in comfortable silence. Then Elias spoke softly. You changed my life, Serenia. Not just as a warrior, but as a man. She smiled. And you changed mine, as a princess, as a person. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a future not just of duty, but of happiness. The days that followed were filled with plans for stronger alliances, shared knowledge, and cultural exchanges. But more importantly, they were filled with moments stolen between the princess and the warrior, quiet walks under alien moons, laughter shared in the gardens, and the slow building of a bond that was both gentle and fierce. Serenia no longer tried to hide her feelings, and Elias no longer held back his. Together they were proof that peace was possible, not just between species, but between hearts. The final scene of the story takes place at a gala celebrating the new alliance. Serenia and Elias stand side by side before the gathered crowd. With a smile, Serenia speaks into the microphone. Peace begins with courage, and, sometimes with a heart brave enough to be honest. Elias takes her hand. The crowd cheers, and the shy alien princess, who once struggled to stay calm around the human warrior, now stands strong, unafraid, and full of hope.